I heard something funny recently that now that I'm done with school, I don't have to study anymore. That I can just go home and chill. And the reason it was funny to me to hear something like that was because for the last 6 months, while I was in school, I was training myself to constantly learn new things, essentially be a student of life. And I wanted to do this so that I could end up in a position where I am satisfied and actually useful to my society, my community. Something I think that my soul needs. And I heard Jim Rohn talk about this concept of work and life and the balance that comes with trying to live it successfully, right? Trying to live a life that you actually want to live. And he said, work more on yourself than you do your work. And I realized that to many people that just sounds like studying, which is hilarious to me because school has never been there to teach you about how to live your life, in my opinion. It's been there to constrain you into believing that there is a way to live life. But really, the intricacies of it, the ins and outs, the emotional requirements of it, school doesn't teach you that. And I've always honestly really disliked school for that reason, because why set people up to not be adaptable? At the end of the day, life is hard and environments are constantly changing. The world is constantly changing. So why wouldn't you want your citizens to be the most curious, the most solution oriented, so that they could deal with things like that? And the conclusions that I often came to is it was the blind leading the blind. It was a lot of, like what I'm doing here. It's a lot of people trying to figure it out themselves, and along the way, giving some sort of wisdom. Albeit the wisdom that I offer, the life advice, the emotional intelligence stuff, that's subjective, almost entirely. And history is also subjective. Math is not subjective. All that, not subjective at all, really. So that's something you have to learn hard and fast and understand, sure. But the majority of school, really, subjects that are teaching facts, I went through and got a dentistry degree. Subjects that are teaching facts are actually teaching facts that are about 10 years old and oftentimes out of context and outdated. So it ends up being fruitless in, in the long run. Whereas teaching someone about finances, health, emotional intelligence, meditation, spirituality, ecology, how we literally get our air, these things can last a lifetime, and I think would fundamentally change the planet. But I say all this because I want to convince you that just because school is over doesn't mean that you should stop learning in some capacity. The things that you decide to learn, the things that we decide to learn, hopefully are going to be diverse as hell. But the best chess players always make a chess move that will give them more moves, apparently, ahead of them. So, to make decisions that aren't investments, I think is a fallacy. To try to live life in the moment all the time is going to lead to a very difficult life, at least in this society. Unless you're incredibly lucky, like Forrest Gump or something, you kind of have to plan ahead to a degree. And that means studying. That means preparation. I made a TikTok post, I think, the other day, and I remember writing in it, the price of adaptability is preparation. Which is the greatest irony of it all, because we assume that adaptability is something that's innate. But in my understanding of adaptation, it's actually something that's learned. It's something that you have to go through again and again, train the muscle, so that when things come up that don't make sense, the muscle at least has the memory to try to understand it, if that makes sense. Curiosity honed essentially, asking the right questions, doing it efficiently, so that you may act efficiently, quicker. But a student of life, to be a student of life, I think correlates directly with a love of life. And I've been reading this book, Ayn Rand's Atlas Shrugged, where some of the main characters, they work incredibly hard and are put up against incredible obstacles. And they find each other. You know, they might be the leads of certain companies and they might be running around doing their own thing, obviously being very busy and productive. But they find each other and they find company and they find serenity out of hanging out with people that have this incredible ability to utilize their time. And I believe, and also vaguely inferenced in the book itself, it comes from a love of life. To wake up in the morning and be excited, almost jittery about what we can do in a day. To get out of work and to be excited instead of tired. To be present in the moment as much as possible. A love of life, I think, will inevitably lead to a lifelong student. Because there's so much to learn. It's an incredible amount. And the more we learn, the more interesting the world becomes, because we realize there's so many niches and so many people that are just so passionate about these niches. If you've ever had an opportunity to talk to someone about what they're passionate about, and you are also passionate about something, there will be euphoria in it for you for at least an hour or for however long you're interacting with that person. There is a magnetism that goes with passion. And I think it has to do with a love for life. There was also a quote that comes to mind that lovers love things, love events, activities, lovers of worldly possessions, of singular, minute things. What does it mean to be the beloved? The beloved to me are like the prophets. They're the people in society that we look at and we say to ourselves, wow, I can't wait to see that person again. Or, wow, what sunlight am I feeling right now with this person around? You know, like genuinely we feel it. Every single one of us as a human being. We know who the beloved are. We can think about it almost immediately off the top of our heads, like, yeah, that person's amazing. How does one become that way? I think a love of life. I think to be incredibly productive and to always be progressing in our knowledge, our intellect, our ability to study, our ability to adapt. All of these things fall in the same category. And even making this video, I'm now thinking about potentially a deeper reason for why I went down this path to begin with. Because I have a love of life. And I hope you do too. I hope it manifests in something that you can feel. Being a student of life is a gift, really. I have to have incredible gratitude for the ability to even talk about this concept, let alone to ideally live it on my best days. But don't ever stop it. In some form or another, put yourself through what school put you through. You know, like rote study of something that really fascinates you, hopefully. And even if it doesn't fascinate you, just for the sake of knowledge, for the sake of a difference in mindset, I think it's well worth it. So if you got anything out of this video, smash that thumbs up for me. It helps a lot. Throw me a comment on something that you've been trying to learn of late. I'd be curious. And if you have some time, check out this video right here when I have the time to post it. It's one I made a while back. I hope you enjoy it. It has something to do with this concept of being a lifelong student. Actualize your potential, my friend. This world needs you. Take care.